I don't know if you can hear it, but every time I press this button, can you hear that? No? Our theme
No.
song keeps playing in my ear.
You're
It's
that vain. You're that fucking vain. You're playing your own theme music as you walk
to me
around in day-to-day life.
as George is spilling his life story. I'm going. George is going, and then it was quite a traumatic and borderline abusive experience I had in school.
I was beaten every day for 6 weeks.
Hiya, you're right. Hi, everyone.
Hello and welcome to the Steve Calis Show. I'm Steve Calis, and as usual, I'm joined by Kevin Harris. Kevin, are you okay?
Hot, sweaty, and ready.
Hot, sweaty, and ready. Lovely image. Thank you for sharing that, Kevin. And we're also joined, as usual, by the focus of today's episode, Producer George. Producer George, are you okay? Are you happy? What's new? What's going on with you?
I'm okay. Nothing new. I'm pretty nervous, actually. I've been studying the questions. Yeah. I've been studying the questions, and I'm like, I don't know what they're going to ask me. You know, it's a scary one.
Yeah. If you haven't been following this series, listener, then we're trying to get to know the three of us a little bit better, so that you feel like you know us better and you're invested on the journey. We're about to go on to be the #1 podcast in the UK. We've done me, we've done Kevin, and that episode will be released this Saturday. By the way, Kevin, I've just delayed it for a couple of weeks, but so we've done Kevin, and now it's Producer George, an anomaly. He's new to the team, but a refreshing splash of water to the face he is. So, George, if you don't mind, we're going to jump straight in and get to know you a little bit better.
Excellent, perfect.
Kev, what the hell did you want to ask him?
Is that? Where the hell did you come from?
Yeah.
One day, like in the corner of my screen, this is Producer George. Like, what the fuck? Who?
I mean,
good question.
Without going into it too much, I just I knew Steve when we worked for McDonald's, and I approached him.
You have to go.
Well, I don't know. Are we going to go into it a lot more later? Is that sort of the idea? Are we doing the same sort of?
Oh yeah, sure. We can touch on it now and then go into detail later on. Yeah, but you reached out to me because you wanted to be some part of this adventure.
You'd heard the shower of shit that we were, and were like, I can improve that.
And these guys need me.
Just for the camera quality, really.
Yeah, that's right. Well, then, George, let's get intimate. Okay, let's find out more about you and your soul. George, what is your favorite word?
This is the hardest question that I've had. So I've been studying the questions that we've all asked each other, and for everything that I have, I've been racking my brain, and I don't have a favorite word. I just don't have one. It's not something I have. I know, and just to counter the next question, I don't have a least favorite word. I don't know. I've been really thinking
George.
about it. Yeah.
You seemed opposed to my favorite word when we spoke, if you remember. You seemed opposed to the word Guggenheim last time we spoke. I mean, is that?
Yeah, not a big fan of that. Now, I do like haberdashery, but I only thought of it because Kev mentioned it. But yeah, Steve, I'm not a big fan of yours.
Oh, here's a great one for you. My son-in-law called my daughter this the other day. He's still alive, just rotund.
Oh.
He's a fucking brave boy, I'll give him that. Rotund.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cold.
Yeah. He is on a ship somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic, so he's fine.
He's feeling brave. George, what turns you on?
So I'm going to skip the whole sexual turn-on thing because we've all established that we're going for something else here. What turns me on is like grassroots success. So from someone who has literally come from nothing and has
you said grassroots. I thought you said grassfruits.
Grass fruits, yeah, grass fruit.
What the fuck is a grass fruit? Grass roots. Apology, George.
George fucking loves grass fruits.
Yeah,
I love it.
loves them.
My favourite. Yeah.
Try and talk to him about anything. He always brings it back to grass fruits.
Yeah, sorry. Continue, George. I apologise. You threw me for a loop.
Well, yeah. So I just like I like that sort of underdog success story, and that's what really sort of motivates me. It's something that I want to do. You know, that's something that I want. Come from nothing and gain success and fame and fortune and succeed in life.
That's it.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Okay, then, so to follow that, what turns you off?
What turns me off? God, that's such a hard question to answer. Yeah, definitely that, Steve. Yeah. What turns me off? This is one that I haven't really thought about. I guess it would be
that for a long time.
Yeah, burnt into my mind forever. I think I'm going to have to cop out. I don't know what turns me off.
George,
I just don't know.
Cop out. That's the point.
I know. I'm so rubbish.
We didn't get that. Yeah, well, fair enough. That's fair enough. I guess force answers. You've got to be honest and.
Well, I guess it would be something similar to my what turns me on, what inspires me is success in that grassroots story. So what turns me off would probably be entitlement and that sort of entitled world that people have, especially in money and stuff like that. You know, that's a real turn off for me. Just be humble, be cool, man. Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. Well done. Nice one. Next question, George. What sound or noise do you love?
I love, and you two might not understand this, right? But I absolutely love the sound that cats make when you touch them when they're asleep, and they do a little,
when they die a little bit.
yeah, that's what I love, and it's a newer thing. We've recently in the last 2 years got cats, me and my partner, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, good. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I assume that the answer to this question, what sound or noise do you hate, is the noise of a dog barking. I assume just.
No, I love dogs. Dogs are my chosen animal, but I just haven't really got the opportunity to have one at this point in my life.
So, what profession, other than your own? Obviously, we know you're all in IT. You're big in IT. Would you like to invent?
Well, I hate to say it, it's a bit of another cop-out question, but I always wanted to be in IT. I did. I did work experience with my uncle when I was in year 10. So what's that, 15 years old? And I stayed in Bristol with him for a week, and he was in an IT department. And I was just like, this is the life, you know? Just sit at a desk and tap away at your computer. And it was the best thing ever. Yeah. And I've only just recently.
George, you and me came from very different worlds.
No, I totally understand. Just minimum output. You know what I mean? You don't want to be stressed. You don't want to be doing stuff. Kevin, you always seem so stressed and unhappy with your workload.
I'm not unhappy. No. With my workings, if you don't put a certain amount of pressure on me, I will just devolve to what you say. We go, fuck it. Whereas if you have a little bit on you, you're like, shit, I've got to get that done. Shit, I've got to get that done.
Yeah.
Are you implying that George is lazy?
Yes. He told me so in one of the last episodes, because my answer was I like doing my job because I'm on holiday now, but on Friday I spent 8 consecutive hours playing Pokemon Red.
Perfect job.
So, you know, and if someone, I get really annoyed if someone comes up to me and goes, Steve, do you mind doing a patrol? There was a site, we think we saw a teenager in the hedge.
Let them rob the place, I'm busy.
I go, what am I?
I found a Snorlax.
Yeah, very pissed off about it. So I totally understand. Good answer, George. I understand. What profession would you definitely not like to do?
Something that involves rushing, I think, physically rushing around. You hear of these stories about Amazon warehouses. This is
Chinese warehouse job where they're like,
or people sprinting up and down a warehouse for Amazon just to pick packets off a shelf and then bring it to whoever. I mean, you could put McDonald's. I worked for McDonald's for 14 years, and you could put McDonald's as being similar to that.
And Steve did as well.
That's how we met. Yeah.
So, at one point, I'd like to do an episode with you two where you just discuss what it's like to work at McDonald's, because I have many questions.
So we got different experience. George sort of decided to climb the ladder.
Well, I know you can. They are actual. If you really look, people say, "Oh, you're working at McDonald's," but if you actually turn it around, you can do fucking all right out of it.
Well, so for me, I loved it. I just worked at evenings, just cleaning, headphones in, listening to audiobooks, and it was actually okay. But it wasn't too bad. But I think I totally agree with you, George, because I think I've always thought like being a chef in a busy restaurant. You know what I mean? Like, fuck that. We've done it like a proper 5-star thing where you got different dishes and you got to time everything and like
that looks hell, doesn't it?
Yeah, it just looks like this. I literally don't understand why.
Like 80-degree heat while you're there, like fucking sweating over a.
You literally have to be a psychopath to enjoy that sort of.
Well, they all end up being alkies, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, or coke.
Or you do in your spare time on you've got Monday night off. What are we going to do? Let's go get fucked up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, I totally agree with George. That's it.
Okay, then. So we're going to go existential and fucking
best one.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates? If you say anything to do with cats, it's the end of this interview.
Just want to see him again.
That's brutal.
Sorry, no, you can say what. I'll already play it.
I think it'll be similar to Steve's. Yours, I think, Kev, I can't quite remember, but I think it's just, good job, well done.
Mine was the opposite, remember?
Yeah, Kev went toe to toe with God and didn't take any prisoners.
Oh, yeah, I do remember. Yeah. Yeah, I remember well now. But yeah, I just wanted to say, you did it. You managed it. You did the things that you wanted, that you set out to do. That's all. Yeah, nothing.
If you were to go now, do you think you get there? If it does exist, do you think you've done enough?
No, absolutely not. No. Well,
there's some skeletons in George's closet, Kevin.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not as excited as Steve's. I'll just set that out early.
No, right, just to set this out, if this bit does go in, nothing comes close to the weird shit that Stephen has done.
Yeah.
The first time I met Steve, he told me a horrendous fucking story I won't repeat on here that had me howling for fucking hours.
Yeah.
And it's also his name in our group.
Yes. Having to live those experiences were a nightmare.
I would never have known had you not mentioned it the very first time I met you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I appreciate it, mate. I do.
That's a good question, Kevin. I'm going to ask that to you. Do you think do you qualify for heaven?
Mm-mm.
No?
No.
No, you don't think so?
No, but then, like I said before, I've got no problems going down because my theory is if his job was to make us do bad things and take over, he's going to fucking high-five me on the way in. He's not going to be burning me and doing horrible things to me. He'd be like...
No, I think you both be fine. I think you both embody modern day man. You're both good. You both work hard. You both got family. Yeah, you both love very well. You both, I think you'd be fine. Don't worry, fellas. You'd get into heaven just fine. Me, on the other hand, I've just machine gunned a local school, so I'll be going the other way.
And killed the doctor. Don't forget.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah. Right, George. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of who you are. So we're going to freeball these questions, Kevin. These ones aren't written down. So George,
I had extras. Remember?
Oh, did you?
Yeah, you sent the second lot. No, George sent some, didn't he?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, let's start
I don't remember. You didn't ask me them, so no. Fuck them off.
George Gunton. George Margaret Gunton. Where did you grow up? What's your middle name?
No, I don't know.
It is now.
Well, I just gifted you.
No, it's
Chris
George Pussycat Gunton.
I'll take that.
Where did you? Are you local Yeovil boy?
Yeah, I was born in Castlecarey, which is, I don't know, 20 minutes from Yeovil. I grew up just outside Castlecarey, moved back to Castlecarey for a couple of years, and then moved just outside to a different area outside of Castlecarey. So yeah, I've been around. I was never. I wouldn't say I was very Yeovil centralised. I think my family, we used to go shopping, for example, to Shepton Mallet rather than Yeovil from Castlecarey because they're sort of equal distance. So yeah. I only really came to Yeovil to buy video games, to be honest. So yeah, Castlecarey. That is where I grew up. That's where I'm from.
All right, thanks, George. And what about school? What about school-wise? Did you school locally?
Well, school is actually quite a sort of defining part of my story, I think. So I went
Take us there, baby. Give us the whole thing. There's no time limit. So you tell us the story.
No. All right. Were you King Arthur's then? If you were down there?
No. There's a secondary school in Castlecarey. Well, it's in a place called Ansford, which is practically.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. So I went to Ansford for 2 years, and I would say I just wasn't built for classroom learning. I wasn't built for sitting down. I wasn't built for being in silence and reading textbooks. And yeah, as I know, you neither of you two are. So my mum decided to send me to a boarding school. So I went to a boarding school outside Bridgewater. Yeah. No, it's called Brymore. It's an agricultural academy.
Okay.
But
what does that mean?
They're quite well known for the. Well, it means there's there's a full profitable working farm attached to the school.
Oh,
right. Yeah. So I did an NV. I did a level 2 MVQ in agriculture as part of the curriculum.
So to follow that, then the farming life was not for you.
I hated it. It was not for me.
You're not watching Clarkson's Farm thinking, "Oh, like me a bit of that." You're like, "Fuck no."
The thing with Clarkson's Farm is it's a very small percentage of farmers in the UK. The rest of them barely being able to pay their bills. They're barely living. They just work 24/7 all year.
Did you do dairy or arable?
Well, there was a mixture of everything. So they had pigs, chickens, sheep. They had dairy cows, beef cows. We learnt to drive tractors at the age of 13. Learnt to drive tractor and trailer as part of the sort of curriculum. And there was also a semi-working garden centre as well. So I did an MVQ level 1 in horticulture as well as the agricultural side of things. Yeah. But what the school was most known for was keeping young lads in line. That's what they were known for. They were known for absolutely exhausting us. So a lot of troublemakers went there. A lot of I guess you'd call it. It was an only boys' school, I should add. So yeah, a lot of boys that had problems with normal education and stuff like that, and needed a bit of a whipping. So yeah, that's why I went there.
That's
and
cool,
as I say, it's different. That's why I haven't been about. That's why people won't know me from the age of I don't know 13 to 16. So I didn't meet those people in secondary school.
But obviously, what was the work experience you did at the agriculture then? That was when you went to work with your uncle in IT and went, nah, fuck this.
Yeah. And what we sort of realised after school is they weren't necessarily good at discipline. It's not like they were suspending people and putting people in detention and stuff like that. What they did was keep us exhausted all the time. So we had to do farm twice a week and after school once a week. We had to do garden duties once a week. We had to do a 3.5 mile run. We didn't have to, but if you wanted to be in the rugby team, you had to do a 3.5 mile run once a week, but it was on every day of the week. So some of the lads would just do that run every single day. We had athletics training, swimming galas. They just kept us exhausted all the time. But what it actually bred was really fit. Yeah, really fit, really naughty. And this was an all boys school, so we were living together. So there was 170 of us living together with your best mates, and we're all ripped, and we're all
just smashing mental. Teachers up.
Yeah, yeah.
Sticking them in combines and shit. Get the fucking
yeah. And using, driving a tractor at the age of like 14 when you're doing all these athletics and all of that. It's
Were you aware at that age how incredibly fucking dangerous it is around the machinery?
No.
Or was that not really? No. Because until you're around it, when you're older, you're like, oh my God. When you watch a farmer do stuff, and then they're like wrapped around something, getting fucking splayed to pieces.
Yeah,
like, well, why don't you stick your hand in there?
Yeah, I think because there was a mixture of some lads that were there for actual learning agriculture. They were gonna run their family farm when they were older. So there was a good mixture of people that knew what they were doing, and a good mixture of people that tested the boundaries. It's probably the easiest way to say it. But then, we looked after each other and sort of made sure people didn't wrap their arms around PTOs on the back of tractors and stuff like that.
Wow, so that's interesting. At that point you made where you said, they brought in all these kids who misbehaved from a young age, and then just made them massive.
Yeah.
Then just pissed them off.
Farming prison.
Yeah, didn't do anything about the temperament, but just made him like strong as hell because of all the farm work and stuff. That's really funny.
Yeah. And
because you're a big fella, you must really. Yeah, I've always wondered where you're, because you especially when you first came to McDonald's, or when I first met you at McDonald's. Sorry, you were a man of size. You're very large.
Yeah. What happened is, because I had to do all of that physical stuff at school, as soon as I left, I just stopped. I just sat still and just sat on the sofa playing games and eating chocolate. So
it's a good life, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So I went from being a really fit 16-year-old to a really fat 18-year-old, which was perfect for me.
Me and you both, baby. Me and you both. I understand. So what happens then? So then you get a job at McDonald's, I assume, or what's next after that?
Yeah, so I left school. I left school in 2008, and I left school in. When do we leave? When do you leave school? July. Around July, yeah. So I left school.
Well, no, it's about April, May, isn't it? Because you leave and then go home, don't you? And then you go back and do your exams.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Yeah. I lived at school, so
sorry, different.
Yeah, we didn't do that. Yeah. Anyway, I started McDonald's in September after the summer holidays, just part time, and I went to Yeovil College, and that's how I know people of Yeovil that we all know. And I studied IT. I did IT. That's the sort of my first real education.
Poorly. You are not.
Nobody from your work listens to this, do they, George?
Yes, they do.
No, I hope not.
They do. My best friend. My best friend's Roxy, and she goes, "Yeah, I see George a couple of times a week, but I never know if he knows who I am, so I never say hello." But she recognised you from the podcast, but she hasn't come over and said hello yet. But she's one of the senior bosses. So.
That's the second person to have recognised me at work from the podcast. So I'm pretty famous at this point.
I'm a bit of a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, I get that quite a lot. I get recognised all the time mostly from like the Pride of Yeovil Award stuff that we used to do, but from this, and John, I love it. I love it. Are you the guy who does it? And I go, yeah, I am. I love every minute of it. It's amazing. So,
just so you know, George, this is not how his friends talk to him about this.
My friends always go like, "Do you know you're amazing?" And I go, "Guys."
Or is it more like, "Hi, I'm Steve. Please follow me to the world's number one."
Yeah, I get fucking roasted every minute of the day. There's no respect.
Oh, we're fucking horrible.
No fucking respect for the things we've done. Right, let's get back to you, George. So George, you started McDonald's, and then neither of us worked there, so we can just talk about McDonald's, can't we? So you started working at McDonald's, and what did you do? I've talked about McDonald's on this podcast a few times because I actually found that I enjoy, like, they let me travel half the year and then come back to work. You know what I mean? Like, the work is shit sometimes, of course it is, but as far as companies go to work for, pretty good. They got there, especially pre-franchise.
You can move restaurants, can't you? For like,
I'll go over the shop.
And you say
that's another defining part of my story.
Go, George.
Speak on, George.
Well, I was just gonna agree with Steve. Yeah, I think McDonald's is great. I think it's a really good company. They don't particularly care about their employees. The greater McDonald's, but you're sort of based in the restaurant, in the store, in the individual store. So if you've got a good sort of leadership team within that store, it can run really well. It can feel like you're barely going to work. You can have a laugh. I remember shifts with Stephen just sort of laughing until my cheeks hurt, and having those experiences and meeting some of my closest friends. My partner, I met her in McDonald's. My sister worked for McDonald's, and her husband also worked for McDonald's. So it brought loads of people together. Yeah, and I think it's great. I think it's really good, really flexible.
Big Macs on Christmas Day at the Gunton household.
Well, I was the last one to leave, so none of us do it anymore.
Yeah. So keep digging. I want to know about.
Yeah. So I went to Yeovil College, and then I went to the Yeovil University Centre, UCY, for 2 years. Yeah. So by that point, I'd done 5-6 years in McDonald's, and I actually failed one of my exams at UCY. And I got a phone call saying you can retake the exam, but you have to attend 50% of the lectures throughout the whole next year.
Is this an IT exam?
Yeah.
Of course it is. But carry on, George. Yeah.
It was in programming, which is really hard. So,
It's tricky, yeah. Carry on, yeah.
And then I was working in Sparkford for the 5 or 6 years, which is where I live, just outside Sparkford. And then I was offered an opportunity to open a brand new restaurant in Amesbury help open a brand new restaurant in Amesbury near Stonehenge on the Solstice Park. So me and a group of managers went up there and opened it from Sparkford. So we were traveling there every day, and we hired all the staff and set up the restaurant and opened it. And it was awful. It was terrible. And the actual opening of the restaurant was really bad. Yeah, it was. I think. Normally you want to hire locally and you want to get your managers in and stuff like that, the hierarchy to be local in a place like that, because if anything goes wrong, people can come in and people can help out. But we all lived an hour plus away. So really long days, really long shifts, really, really busy because it's a new restaurant in a new place. And it was honestly one of the worst years of my life. Actually.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I was doing overnights, so I was doing 10 p.m. till 7 a.m. But there's an hour drive either way, and there's nothing worse than driving down the 303 after an overnight, and sort of feeling drowsy and basically falling asleep.
Just driving full fucking stop is just
yeah.
So how did you end up in Yeovil?
Well, so from Amesbury, I then went back to Sparkford for another year, and sort of stuck it out there for a bit, and then went back to Amesbury for another year. And then by that point, yeah, I know. But by that point,
did you miss it? What did you get back?
Well, I always felt, and I still do, I feel because I helped open that restaurant, because I helped hire all those people, and the managers that are there now, sort of, like 9, 10, 11 years on, I hired, I trained, and I developed. So, and that's the store manager there is someone who was there on day one when we first opened. So I feel a kind of loyalty to that store, but I have roots in that store. So when they asked me to go back there, it was kind of fine, even though the drive was awful. And there was a new manager, there was a new boss, so I gave it a go. Turns out I hated that as well, and it was awful. And the new boss was brilliant for my development in McDonald's, but he was a really, really mean, angry man. So I asked to move and leave there, and that's when they sent me to Yeovil, and I ended up in Yeovil.
And that turned out pretty okay in the end, didn't it? The Yeovil move, or did it?
Yeah. I mean, at that point I was living in Yeovil with a friend, so my commute was cut down from an hour to 10 minutes. I liked the managers, I liked the bosses, and I managed to get 2 promotions while I was in Yeovil as well. So I ended up being first assistant, which is sort of one off the store manager.
How many stars is that on your badge?
Oh, I got those stars years ago.
Can't move for stars. Yeah, good man.
Like a Korean fucking general.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So what? So that's where we met. That's where our paths collided. and I was in a I was in a pretty grim place, really. I was like, it was tough for me. I was sort of barely sort of scraping by, and but that is a turning point for you because things start going sort of well for you there. So is that McDonald's that you meet me? You met Charlotte, your lovely partner.
And then met Charlotte.
Yeah, so you're feeling better at this time? Are you feeling better? It's a worthwhile endeavour, the Oval trip?
Yeah, so I mean, me and Charlotte moved out of Yeovil in the end, and we live in Street now. But yeah, I think the part where I moved to Yeovil, the Yeovil staff were different than any other staff that I worked with. Even though Spartford's just down the road, they were different than Spartford. They were definitely different than Amesbury, and they were just such a group of nice people in Yeovil. And I find this in a lot of places like Yeovil. Is the staff that all, the staff are so different than the clientele.
Yeah, right. Go on. Yeah, go on. You keep saying
we run the Pride of Yeovil Awards.
Well, maybe some of them should go to the staff of McDonald's, because honestly,
for putting up with people like me, fucking definitely.
Is that the point you're making? Is that the point that you're making? Is that it's a harder task because of the fucking vegetables you're suddenly working with, or because they're
not necessarily? What I'm saying, the people of Yeovil were a lot more inviting. They were a lot more friendly. They were a lot more giving. And I met some amazing people in Yeovil that I didn't really know.
Amesbury sucked Yeovil rules.
Fuck you, Amesbury! Fuck you! Fuck you, fucking Amesbury! Oh, and that fucking agriculture prison George was stuck in.
Yeah. Just made him hench and fucking talk with a weird accent. Like, well, where are you?
Yeah. George, what I do want to ask you about is, do you remember when we were talking on mine and we talked about how in schools there were very specific, you had, especially like Bucklers Mead, you had to either be good at football or you had to be able to fight. And you could get away with it. A third is funny, but you still had to have at least one of the two, right? And when I was telling you that, you totally agreed, and you said that you had very similar experiences from your school time. Will you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think there was something you share from that period.
Well, so ours was a big rugby school. It was all about the rugby. I was in the rugby team. I was, I'm a big lad. I played funny positions. I'm a big lad, but I played winger, which, I know it's an odd choice.
How fucking high was your coach?
Well, the thing is I was
most people over 6 foot tall. They're like second row.
Yeah. So my split when I went to college and they said, "What do you play?" I said second row or wing. And I remember the bloke just looking at me like I was talking rubbish. But it's because I'm medium fast, but also any other winger isn't going to take me down. At the age of like 15, they don't stand a chance against 6 foot George. There's no chance. Not to brag, not what I'm saying. Anyway, big rugby school, and then unfortunately I can't remember what age I was exactly, but I damaged a bit of my back, and a bit of part of my sort of spine. It's hard to describe, but part of my spine sort of broke. It was a stress fracture. Yeah. So it was nothing like my spine broke.
Such a fun game, rugby.
Yeah. But I basically couldn't really play anymore, and I had to. My back was pretty seriously. Well, I was in pain quite a lot, so I couldn't really play anymore. But I kept up the sort of athleticism. I wasn't allowed in the team because I didn't want to do the 3.5 mile run because it sucked. But I kept it all up, but I didn't really play rugby too much after that. And then the sort of, Steve, you said about the 3 parts. I was also very funny. I like to think. The thing is with going to a school that's full of meathead, ripped nutters, is really violent. So I went to it was actually a really violent school, really, really aggressive. And part of the sort of hierarchy and part of the discipline and stuff like that was self discipline. So the year 12s, the year 11s, they had top priority of everything, and if you got in their way, you just got a smack round the face. That was the end of the story. So by the time I got to year 11, I was exactly the same, and if you got in my way, you just get a smack. There's probably some practices that the school sort of did that would probably be quite frowned upon these days. But I know I still speak to someone who knows people that go to the school now. When I left the year, a lot of things changed, and a couple of teachers got the sack and stuff like that, and they changed all their practices, and they're a very different school now. But back then, if you were naughty, if you were naughty in year 9, it's a bit of a longer story, but when you were in year 9 and 10, you were in a dorm of about 19 to 20 people. And in that dorm, you had a mixture of sort of 3 to 4 year 11s and year 10s to keep an eye on you all, because, to make sure you're not in trouble. But there was one dorm called Dorm 1. Yeah. I mean, if you ever watch, what I always think of in my head is Bad Lads Army. If you ever watch that, it's very similar to that. And we slept on cast iron beds. They were sheet metal and cast iron with a small mattress on top, and I had a window bed. There was single pane glass, and when it rained, it would just leak into my bed.
Get your own shower and everything en suite.
Yeah. But yeah, there was this one dorm. It was called Dorm 1, and it was where all the naughty year 11 kids went, the ones that were too naughty to look after the other age groups. And if you were naughty in year 9, you would be put into the Dorm 1 room, and the year 11s were given the year 9 lights out, which was like 7:30. So you can imagine what would happen in that situation in the schools that you went to. If you're enforcing the rules of the younger kids onto the older kids, they're not going to react well to that. So it's violence is the answer to them, and then that discipline would then teach you not to be naughty in your dorm. So yeah,
okay, mate.
yeah, a very weird place to grow up, but I hold it in really high esteem, and weirdly, I was talking to my barber recently, he was the year below me, and he went there, and we were saying all of the old Brimore boys, they all hold the school in really high regard, even if they had a really shit time while they were there. And I didn't have a particularly nice time. I was quite lucky because I was probably quite high in the pecking order of my year group, but that didn't stop the other year groups laying into me. But everyone holds it in really high regard. It humbled me really well, and it sort of taught me loads of life lessons. One of the life lessons being, there's consequences if you're going to be an idiot, if you're going to mess around and stuff like that. They're not the same consequences.
Fuck around and find
really out. Early. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, there was always someone bigger than you at my school.
That's a great motto. I love fuck around and find out. It's amazing.
Yeah. So that's important lesson learned then. That's good. Thank you for sharing that, George. Yeah. So we're coming up.
Do you need therapy, George?
Yeah, do you need
probably
therapy, George?
Is this why he's just sat in a room with his cat style stroking their fur off? Like, it's okay.
Yeah. There's no cats. There's no partner. There's no cats.
I'm actually still at school. I'm just
there's a cardboard
George with an old
Pamela Anderson. Well, there's actually some just sort of profound questions before we sort of finish up. How does your relationship with your current partner differ from previous relationships that you've been in, and what have you learned from her or from this relationship?
Oh, Steve, that is a question. I came into my relationship with Charlotte now with experience of being in a quite controlling relationship. I went out with a girl. I only went out with her for about a year and a half, but I always call it being in Hannah's world. I was in Hannah's world for that entire year and a half. I didn't think about anything else. I stopped seeing my friends. I stopped seeing my family, and my whole life was solely focused on her. So when I came out of that relationship,
who shall remain nameless.
I was just an NPC in Hannah's fucking world. Fucking Hannah.
but we shan't name the lady. But
no.
Carry on, Josh.
We do anonymity here at the Steve Calis Show.
And I can't say that only one side of the relationship is to blame. I was doing it just as much as I felt.
Mate, you're famous now. You can say what the fuck you want. People recognize you on the street.
Yeah, you control the story now.
Yeah. Anyway, I came into my relationship with Charlotte, and I came into that sort of part of my life. It was before I met Charlotte that I sort of came to this realization that the next sort of person I want to be with, they can't be like that. They have to be able to give me the freedom that I need. Not that I need any, but not so purely focused on that one individual thing.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Good. So yeah, that's how it differs, I guess. And it's made me happier, and I think it makes Charlotte happy. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty good.
What words of encouragement or advice would you give to the younger version of yourself that's at Amesbury for the first time, is miserable? What would you say to yourself now if you could have home. 5 minutes for yourself? Yeah.
I'm sort of like a half believer in, maybe not fate necessarily, but that everything happens for a reason. So I would like to tell my younger self, just keep going, keep plugging away, mate. You're doing it. It's really rubbish now, but it works out. It's going to go well, and the sort of dreams that you have for your future are definitely going to develop. I will say, leave McDonald's a couple of years earlier than you actually did, because I think the last sort of 2 to 3 years was a bit wasted. I could have been doing something a lot more productive. But yeah, I would just say keep going, man. Like you do it in the end, you get there. You're doing this podcast now, and I've got my YouTube on the side as well. Is something I've always dreamed of doing. I never thought I would have the opportunity to do it. So yeah, just sitting in my spare room with my my ring light and my laptop is what I was dreaming of back then. So yeah,
me too. Yeah, and I totally agree with you. I always think I wouldn't change one thing behind me, because to knock one thing out of alignment might be to change the future. You know what I mean? And I always say there's times where, and it's sad to think about now because we had a terrible argument 5 minutes before I started recording, but for the most part, it's because I need a cigarette so bad I'm being a dickhead. But for the most part, I say to Mish, I wouldn't change anything terrible. I wouldn't change a second of any of it, because I wouldn't want to alter anything that might eventually lead to me getting to you. You know what I mean? So I totally agree.
She's going to kick your ass after this, isn't she?
She's very unhappy with me at the moment, Kevin, and I've got to deal with that at some point. So we'll keep the podcast dragging on as long as we can. This is our first 4.5 hour episode.
Yeah, theological question for you now, George.
Yeah.
How many cats is too many cats?
2. 3. 3 is too many. I
had 3 when we were younger. We had 3. We didn't ask for 3. Okay. My sister got bought one. One followed me home from school, and then the other one went in my nan's house. You get that fucking cat in my house, and we ended up with it.
Wow, that's sweet.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
And it is mental with 3 of the fucking things running around. Like 3 a.m., you hear this jingling noise as they all scatter around the house like a bunch of fucking lunatics.
Let me show you something.
I don't miss that.
Oh, I thought Steve got bored then. Just had enough.
No. Misha's probably looking at him like this, going. Oh, sorry. This is where fucking Steve whips out his little buddies. You incredibly dull man.
Look,
sorry, I've been watching Bottom all week. I've been watching Bottom live all week in my lunch break, and it just made me incredibly nasty. You utter bellend.
This is my snail terrarium.
That's a fucking stick, Steve.
Is it? No, it's a very long, very thin snail.
Well, until fucking Leo got hold of him.
No, look, we've got a number of new pals. This one's called Daddy Snail because it's big.
Yeah,
you can see Daddy Snail there. We've got a couple.
We'll
of baby
just call
snails.
It Tism, shall we?
Yeah. And we got 4. We got 4 snails. Let me tell you, 4 snails is not enough. So that's what I want to show you.
Usually, once you have more than 2 snails, you usually end up with a fuckload more snails real quick.
Yeah, they do keep popping out of the soil. There's a few who tend to.
My oldest wanted a giant African land snail. And I was like, I don't know. And I looked into it, and they were like, yeah, like you end up with you get 2 of them. The next thing you know, you've got 500 of them. And I was like, haha. And then she showed me the fucking case, and I was like, oh, no, you don't have one of them. Nope. They're fucking everywhere.
Yeah, but so George, let's try and tailor back round to you now. So, is there anything that you, because the point of this episode and the episodes I'm doing about us is so that the listeners know about us and they feel like, oh, Joe, I care about those boys. I know them intimately. I want them to do well. What do you think people who don't know who you are and people who haven't heard you before, what do they have to know about you to understand who you are? Welcome to Diary of a CEO.
I don't know. I'm your typical larger, jolly guy. You know, I'm always in a good mood. I've always got energy. Well, I think Charlotte would probably disagree with this, but I've always got energy to go and do something. And I'm always that guy in the background that's sort of having a laugh and having sort of looking off into the distance and laughing about something and just sort of cracking on and being jolly, I guess. That's the easiest
Joe,
way.
I found about you, when we first met, I always felt it could go one of two ways. I could either really hate you or really enjoy spending time with you. Because I remember overhearing you were talking to someone else because you were a manager, I think, or some kind of shift manager, whatever you're doing. And I was like, who the fuck is this charismatic, funny motherfucker? Who does it think he is?
You hate anyone being good at anything. You hate it when people if they're the center of attention, it ain't you. You're like,
I do.
Like, look at me.
I do hate that, and that was my first thought. I thought, this motherfucker, so
fuck this man,
big, strong, like not big like chunky big, but big. He looks fucking just big, like really great build. He's funny, charismatic, and he's nice. I was like, fuck this guy. Who the hell is this? So that's what I would have people know about you, is that you have a great many, and funny is you got a great many. You got a great many very, very good qualities, which is why when you reached out,
you.
I had no problem inviting you in to be part of the fold, because
I do enjoy our time together, George. It's very pleasant.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's really nice to hear.
It winds him up.
Yeah.
So what is it that you hope to get out of doing this one day, George, the podcast thing? What's the sort of best case scenario for you?
I think so I'm a gamer. That's what I do in my spare time. So, you know, if people think, oh, we never see George at the pub, or you know, George is never
what
out.
Do you play?
It's because mostly role playing
something shards.
I do. So I play Raid Shadow Legends on my PC. It's a mobile game. Yeah, it's the meme game, right? Yeah, everyone has heard of it. So I play. It's been ported to PC, so I play it on my laptop. But I got a PlayStation 5 as well, and I just sort of play. I play all the big games, all the AAA games. You know,
what you got?
Not really a first-person shooter game. Yeah.
What
Horizon Zero Dawn?
Yeah. I've my current point in life, I haven't got any time to play any games, so I play them for sort of 2 hours and then don't play them again for 6 months.
Shh! Don't tell that. If my girlfriend hears you, I'm screwed.
Yeah, there's always a way.
Sorry.
But how come you don't play anything else? How come you don't do YouTube videos about any other game? You just do the Shards game.
I just I was watching a YouTube video on how to create a YouTube channel, and the guy that I was listening to was just saying, pick one thing and focus on it. Something that you know about, something that you can talk about, every week or twice a week or whatever it's going to be. Yeah. And a lot of the suggestions were talk about your life, talk about what you've done this week and everything like that. But I'm really boring, and I just go to work, I come home, I go to sleep, and then I go to work the next day. And sometimes I play some games. So I couldn't talk about that. And then I was sitting at home once, and I've been playing Raid Shadow Legends for sort of 2 to 3 years now. And I was sitting at home and I was playing, and then I just thought, well, wait a minute, there's something I do in my spare time constantly. And I know quite a lot about, and I watch people explaining the game and how the mechanics work and stuff like that. So I do actually know, and I can actually share some information about this. So I just sat down one day. I had just my iPhone, my laptop I had at the time was rubbish, and I just recorded my first video on my phone on my desk upstairs, and went from there and just sort of thought.
Which streamers do you like? Are there any of the big obvious ones, or?
I'm more of a YouTube guy, more of a, I'm not, the streaming world hasn't really come into my life. I'm
to be honest, I never watch anyone live. I'll watch like just their 25-minute highlight or compilation clips on YouTube.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Rather than,
I feel like
I can't watch live streams because I want to punch myself in the face.
Yeah. Well, again, it's a bit like playing games. Is I don't have time to sit there and watch a 4-hour stream. There's no chance I'm going to do that. And my phone's always busy with playing Raid Shadow Legends, so I can't watch a stream on there. So yeah, the streaming.
We're quite willing to take any sponsorship from the Raid company.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I love shards.
Yeah.
I don't understand the game. Yeah, I'll message him. So you should see some of the shards I got.
And it's just along the lines of your stupid Yu-Gi-Oh thing anyway. I think it's just a card game.
Was it?
Yes, essentially, it's they call the genre. I think they call it a gotcha game. So like I gotcha. So it's a champion collector game. So yeah, it's similar. And the shards that I'm pulling are just card packs or something like that, or or FIFA packs or something.
You've definitely played a game that's very similar. I promise you. This one's just very well produced, very well made, and it doesn't look dog shit.
Yeah, it does look good. Yeah. Hey, I watch YouTube videos. I support. I'm rooting for you. I'm always going, hell yeah, look at that shard. He sharded the hell out of it. George just sharded.
That could be a feature.
Yeah, George sharded today.
Every time you draw a shard, you just get Steve's little head to pop up behind you.
Yeah,
George sharded. Yeah. Well, George, thank you for sharing everything that you have. Is there anything else that you think people need to know about you, about your life, that that is pivotal to them understanding you or us going forward?
No, I think hold on. I think some of my most defining parts of my childhood were boarding school and changing school and coming out of a boarding school and not really knowing anyone. A lot of people, they'll go with their mates to the same college and stuff like that. And I sort of, at the age of 16, sort of started out fresh in a town that I didn't really know with people that I definitely didn't know. And the people I went to school with lived all around the country. And I think from there onwards, I've been sort of maybe looking for a thing, looking for my thing. And maybe everyone in life is a bit like that. Everyone's looking for their purpose or whatever it's going to be. And in the back of my mind, I've always just thought I need to do something online. I need to do something creative. I need to do some sort of content creation. And that was the thing that I've been looking for. I'm quite into cars. And I thought maybe I could get a project car and do videos on that, but finding the money to buy a second
very expensive business.
Yeah. But any content creation is what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to be a YouTuber since I was.
If you ever fancy a car show, George, gives a shout.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
I got a few. I got a brother-in-law and a couple other people. We go to them quite regularly, so they're fancy.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
We could even drag Stephen, Mr. I Can't Drive, worth a wank, or ride a bike without killing himself.
Sounds good. Yeah.
He's sad about it being burnt, but it was the safest thing that could have fucking happened to him.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Fuck's sake.
Well, listen, cool. George. I'm glad I know that now, George. Thank you. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll edit that out.
Sorry, Steve.
Fuck you.
Listen, George, thank you for sharing that stuff, mate. We do appreciate it. And
thank you.
Listener, I hope that you feel like now there's 3 episodes of this out there, me, Kevin, and George. I hope that you feel like you know us a little bit better, and that you feel like you can join us on this journey. You can reach out on social media at the Steve Calis Show and talk to us and give us some advice or some criticism, something that will help us. Maybe not criticism, but maybe praise. That'd be nice. Maybe not specifically directed at Kevin, the praise, because he gets more than enough of that online. So
fuck you.
Maybe like praise from me.
It's from your mum for tolerating you.
Yeah.
And a shout out to our previous guests, Drew and Chelsea. for the birth of their child.
Oh yeah! Congratulations to Andy and Chelsea Craney, who've just had a beautiful baby girl. So and that's lovely, really really nice. And shout out to all of our guests. Thank you for trusting us.
Yeah, and follow the link for the Pride Oval Awards.
Yes, yeah. So by the time this goes out, yes, that's right. So now, listener, you can now go to calismedia.com or yovalpodcast.com, because spitefully, I just thought that would be a nice way to get that, because then I hoped that anytime someone types in Yoval Podcast on Google, eventually just the Yoval Podcast website will come up.
I did cast my vote. I casted my vote for myself.
Yeah. So you can go to calismedia.com or yovalpodcast.com and you can nominate someone for a Pride of Yeovil award. Every 2 weeks we will be giving someone a certificate and some chocolate and just saying thank you for the amazing things. Thank you for being an amazing person, for inspiring people locally, and then that's what we're back doing. That was one of the best things we did last year. But when I got fucked over by the carnival and COVID, and that bloke swindled me out of that fucking business, and I got really fucked in that few months, and it just totally derailed me. But I'm feeling a bit more with it. So we're on that. We're going to make people feel good. So if you listen to this, then please consider clicking the follow button and subscribing wherever you are and leaving us a 5-star.
Can we have this as the fucking...
That's how we should say it. Yeah. Firstly, I wanted to say that this is how we should say goodbye to each other. When we finally say, "Oh, lads, see you next time." That's what we should do. So, just to warn you, that's what's going to happen.
Death and suffering. Woo!
Yeah. So like and follow and subscribe. That really helps out. George, thank you so much for sharing that stuff with us, mate. We really appreciate it. It's very kind.
Thank you for letting me share. Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, man.
And Kevin, good job.
Thanks, George.
Yeah.
I learned much about George, and that he's far more interesting than you, Stephen, without trying.
Alrighty, see you later, everybody. Bye.
Hiya, you're right. Hi, everyone.
Death and suffering. Woo!